So, what is art? Well, it turns out it is an entire field of philosophical debate, and unfortunately, I'm a software engineer, not a philosopher, but I do think I have some insights that are hopefully worthwhile, so stick around. Now, all of this came up as I was working on a commission for my friend. Yes, those 3 large sheets of plywood. I have now had them in my possession now for almost a year, and I'm pretty sure that's not the timeline he originally had in mind when he commissioned me for the project. But I've struggled a lot with them for several reasons. First is scale. Now, I've painted one large mural in our office, but that was very simple overall. It was just sponge painting the whole nebula, and all the detail was constrained to really teeny tiny spaceships. But these boards, the whole thing had to be detailed, or at least I wasn't satisfied walking away from them until they were. Second was surface. I rarely paint on non-canvas things, so the amount of effort that had to go into prepping these boards and actually making them a paintable surface was far more than I anticipated, and it honestly took a lot of time and a lot of excitement out of the project. I turned that stress into a whole separate video if you want to go check it out. But third was subject matter. I'm just not a sports person. And, I've drawn and doodled all sorts of things, so I thought, what's sports? Well, for me, it turns out if, there's no real connection or interest in the subject matter, it's kind of really hard to keep going. I think that's why I focus so strongly on detail. That's what I found exciting. How close could I mimic my painting to the real photograph? How close could I get the detail on my Saturn V to the real thing? I found drive and excitement in the realism and the detail of it. Even though the subject matter wasn't something I really connected with, I found something to be excited about. And that worked to a point. I finished 2 out of 3 and then something changed. This football field has just been taunting me. I should be excited to make sure the perspective is realistic and that the stadium has every single teeny tiny detail, but it's just so boring. At least the people had complicated anatomy, and I love space, so the rocket ship was fun. I have done more math for this one painting than I have for almost any other project as of late. It's turned into a tedium, it's turned into a drudge. It has no spark. Although, I'm not really sure it ever did. But I'm still gonna finish it. I've been paid for it, so I'm not gonna let my friend down. But I will complain about it. In general, this is why I don't take commissions. Now, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with commissioned work. There's an intention, there's a perspective, a viewpoint behind it. It's a collaboration between the artist and the person who requested the piece. Hell, tattoos are a great example of the beauty and value of commissioned work. However, personally, I've discovered that unless there's a real connection to the subject matter, it's really hard to keep going. But you know what? It's been worth it. I have learned so much dealing with the anatomy challenges of the football players, from getting through the physical toll of sitting on my garage floor for 50 hours per board and just sticking with it. So as much as this project has solidified all the reasons I probably won't ever take another commission, it's also brought up something else. It's brought up a lot of thoughts about AI. First up, I want to say that throughout this video, when I am talking about AI or artificial intelligence, I am specifically referring to large language models and their image video generating counterparts. So generally, generative AI. I am well aware that AI is currently a broad blanket marketing term that is being used for things like data-driven algorithms, machine learning, or any other generally smart technology. So I just want to put this disclaimer. When I am talking about AI, I am talking about LLMs or generative AI as a whole. Yes, algorithms and AI are different. Yes, I know current AI isn't actually artificial intelligence. However, LLM just isn't as cool or trendy as AI. Anyways, let's get back to it. So look anywhere in the art community online and you will find scandal after scandal of artists being exposed for using AI to generate their work. Now, you can make the excuse they're doing nothing wrong. I disagree in general, but more specifically, the problem comes when they are trying to pass it off as their own work and they are charging money. The person paying thinks they are getting a unique and genuine piece created by a human, and they're not. And that is incredibly misleading and incredibly disingenuous. You want to generate yourself a picture of your waifu as your screensaver? Fine. I think you could get a better piece by just paying a human artist, but whatever. You use AI to generate pictures of waifus and sell them to other people. Now we have a real problem. One argument I've seen in support of AI image generation is that these models make art accessible. I would argue that art is inherently accessible. Now, I'm not saying everyone will create something that will end up in a museum or be remembered for centuries, but I think that's okay. You can create with almost anything, with words, with duct tape, with paper, with paint, with flowers, with scrap metal. If you prefer digital, there's so many free applications and free tutorials out there. Maybe check out some of the videos on my channel. Of course, there's always the option to spend money on better technology, but that isn't a requirement in any way, shape, or form. This is why I hate the statement that AI makes art accessible. They make digital images quickly, they can create large volumes of text in an instant, and they're getting a lot better at videos. But that's a statement that, one, ignores the horrible environmental impact these models have, which I'm not even gonna touch on, and two, boils down art to only digital images and regurgitated content. A prompt can generate a text or an image. You can tell it what emotion you want, and it'll write something that sounds good, only because it has ingested all of the text it can. Websites that include text analysis, an understanding of what the word happy means in different contexts, and the general structure of what like an argument looks like. But at the end of it, what does it say? What does it add to humanity? Some say there's no new ideas, that all possible ideas that can exist have been had. I say, so what? Classic stories are retold all the time because the author has a different perspective or a new point of view they want to share. For better or worse, but that's besides the point. I mean, just look at how The Wizard of Oz has been adapted so many times. You have the book, the movie, Wicked the book, Wicked the play, Wicked the movie. All from one story. An LLM has no viewpoint, it has no thought, and it has no story to share. It is only regurgitating other people's ideas into a structure that you request. That's not writing, and I don't see that as art. To me, humanity has to be a part of it. Classic art pieces evoke emotions centuries later and provide insight into the human condition. How can AI do that? Because isn't the entire point to try? Isn't that one of the most important parts of being human? Putting effort in and improving? Our most classic and enduring tales are stories of human triumph through perseverance and endurance. Our literary classics, our timeless movies, all were made with thought and care. They're a composition of the combined experience of one person and the combined vision of many. Think of it. The influence of a single director can change the tone of an entire movie. Authors spend hours agonizing over word choice, trying to evoke the exact emotion they want. Stories highlight our humanity, both the beautiful and the tragic parts of it. Renaissance masters are held to such a high esteem because of their skill, their visions, their intentions, the color choice, the brush strokes, the subject matter, all choices specifically made and chosen with care to create the final piece. Not every painting was a success, but the journey to get there, the constant improvement, the expression, that to me is art. I make, in my opinion, really cool things now, but I had to start somewhere. I was lucky enough to grow up with a very artsy mom. She literally has a Master of Fine Arts degree. And so I grew up ruining some very nice art supplies with scribbles and doodles. When I was little, I was a Sokatano for probably far too many Halloweens, but I tried to paint the white designs that she has on her face. And while it wasn't good, I got better. Because sometimes having limited resources makes you really resourceful. My freshman year of college, I needed a really cheap Halloween costume. So I, after looking around, decided to turn myself into a voodoo doll. I found an inspiration picture, and from it decided to order 3 tubes of face paint in white, brown, and black. I bought a beige t-shirt dress, 2 sheets of red felt, and some black yarn, and got to work. The face paint was rough. While I was following an inspiration picture, it took me 4 tries to get it looking anywhere near what it was supposed to be. I had late nights with the dress, threading the yarn through and making all of the stitch marks on it. But in the end, the perseverance was worth it. I ended up winning Scariest Costume at the party that we went to. And I can single-handedly point to that event as a moment that sparked something in me. I had always known I was creative. I mean, I drew, I painted, I made jewelry, but I didn't realize that those skills could translate to a different medium, to makeup. Because this was something new. And so I kept going. I found countless reference images and I did my best to copy them. I wanted to understand how the illusions worked because it was like magic to me. And so I kept experimenting and only got better and better. All because I started here. Another skill of mine is sewing. My mom has had a sewing machine, and so I grew up She always had some sort of quilting project or, something she was working on. So I was familiar with like a rotary cutter and laying out your patterns and the all importance of not using your fabric scissors to cut anything but fabric. I'm so sorry, Mom, because I probably ruined a pair or two of scissors growing up. But that was just the beginning. In middle school, I ended up joining a sewing club, and that's where I learned to make little things like burp cloths or hats, and we would donate them to local women's shelters. And that inspired me to make a bunch of really wonky hats for all of my family members as Christmas presents. Or at least I tried to. I don't think I ended up making that many of them. Time management has never been my strong suit. But after that, I didn't pick up sewing again until the pandemic. I was home from college in my parents' house and basically bored out of my mind, and I needed to do something. So I turned to my own closet. I picked up my mom's sewing machine and just kind of had at it. I adjusted a tank top so that it would fit me better. I turned a dress into a tank top and shorts, and I butchered a strapless dress into a pile of striped fabric. But the point is, I experimented, I learned, and I got better. To the point that my mom was like, "You're using the machine more than I have, so I want you to have it." And so she very kindly gifted it to me. It's sitting back there in my mess of, I don't know what's the better way to see it. It had to start somewhere. And because of that trial and error, I can now make things like this and like this. But I started with really wonky hats. Every weird idea I've ever brought into this world came from me. Sure, there was inspiration, a photo I saw online, a piece of media I liked, but I created it myself with all the headaches and problems that come with it. That's part of why I made my channel. The creative process is messy, chaotic, and almost never follows a straight line. And to me, the fun is the challenge, the effort, the thinking required to create whatever it is I've envisioned, because it's my vision and my creation. Say what you will about AI being a productivity assistant or a brainstorming tool. I've used chatbots, and honestly, I hate to say I found them useful at times. But in the same vein, I've gotten into arguments with these chatbots when just Googling it would have gotten me the answer faster. AI is completely unavoidable now. Every new startup is a user interface that's just making calls to ChatGPT's API and promising you things that really can't be proven. Not to mention how so many AI integrated products are just algorithms with new marketing. Why are we desperately trying to find a way to make it useful? Why are people being told, go find a problem that this can be the solution for, instead of, this is how it can help us? Because I don't think there's anything AI can really help with right now, except removing humanity from the process. But that's not a problem, not for most normal people anyways. Currently, AI is cheap. You do have to pay, yes, but companies are not charging nearly what they should be charging. And so a lot of corporations are turning to it for digital media needs. There are companies trying to make entirely AI movies and productions. Companies like McDonald's and Coca-cola have literally released fully AI-generated advertisements. Let's dive into one of those a little bit more closely. The Coca-Cola ad. Take literally one look at this video. Here is a screenshot of every single time the Coca-Cola truck is on screen, and you can clearly identify how many wheels are on the truck. Let's play Count the Wheels. You can also play Read the License Plate, because it's not legible, it's gibberish, and sometimes it's not even there. A real artist would have consistency between shots, and could also look at the license plate as an opportunity to throw like a little Easter egg in there. You could make it say Coca-Cola, you could make it say Polar Bear, something cute or fun that adds to the whimsy of the advertisement instead of garbled gibberish that's sometimes missing. Not to mention the details on the front of the hood change from shot to shot. Straight up, nothing is consistent. What is lighting up here? Is it string lights or the branches? Look at these people walking. Are they zombies? This shot goes from 3 seals in the water to 4 seals on shore. Are you seriously trying to tell me that these 2 squirrels are the same squirrel? Because the ad is trying to tell you that. In general, something about this whole ad is just off. There is a difference between highly stylized and this. Surely the detrimental cost to the environment is worth it when the final product is just so great. And even if it isn't, the customer's too stupid to notice the inconsistencies anyway. After all, our logo's slapped all over the place. In my opinion, there's a really strong reason we're seeing it all over the place, and that's cost. If it's cheaper or faster to generate instead of paying an artist, companies are just going to choose to generate. Right now, AI companies are offering their services for cheap or free. But this won't last forever. They're hoping to get you hooked on the product now, so that when it inevitably gets put behind a higher paywall, you have begun to rely on it, and you feel like you have no choice but to pay because you need to keep using it. Don't believe me? None of these AI startups are profitable. Companies are pouring billions of dollars and only seeing a fraction of that in return. The only people coming out on top right now are the chip manufacturers, but they are not who I'm talking about. These AI companies need to figure out how to get you hooked, keep you paying, and then convince you to pay more for the same thing. But right now, it's pretty cheap and really accessible, so we are seeing it absolutely everywhere. And I need to stress, this is impacting so much more than just visual media and graphic design. I have seen tattoo artists post AI-generated flash sheets. There is an endemic problem of AI-generated crochet, knitting, and sewing patterns, and sometimes it's a real stolen image with an AI text pattern, and sometimes it's a fully fake AI-generated image with an AI-generated pattern. With money tight for so many people, it's really hard to justify spending money to buy a pattern when you don't know if what you're getting is even real. And don't even get me started on Etsy as a platform. So many pictures are stolen or AI-generated images, and either way, it's just leading you to get a cheap Temu drop-shipped item instead of a thoughtfully handcrafted piece. At least Pinterest allows you to turn off AI-generated recommendations, and while it's not perfect and some may slip through the cracks, as far as I know, they're the only platform right now to even have that as an option. But even if you aren't online, going to artist markets in person can be a challenge. Do not get me started on the 3D printed dragons. I do cosplay and I go to my local convention every year. Last year, there was a really cool wood leather burning vendor that sponsored an item in the prize bags. So after the contest and I got my bag, I wanted to go check out their booth and maybe buy something else and support them because they'd so kindly donated something to the prizes. So imagine my dismay when I saw this. I think any Star Wars obsessed kindergartner could draw a better Millennium Falcon. I know they used a machine to burn the image. That's not the problem. The problem is the image they chose to burn. Were they really so crunched for time they couldn't draw it themselves, or pay for someone to draw it for them, or pay for an existing image or template? They had to generate it? Even if they downloaded the image, you didn't notice? Whatever the answer, it made me upset. I'm here in person to buy something made by a real human. And even that's not always the case. These are aspects that used to be made by real people, by hand. History keeps showing us that we should value the old ways of doing things as we continue to progress forwards. One dedicated group of craftsmen were responsible for preserving the woodworking technique that allowed the Notre Dame to be rebuilt as close as we could nowadays to the way it was originally after the fire. Their appreciation and value of the old skill allowed us to preserve a beautiful piece of history. Also, they allowed one of the dudes to get married there, which is really cool. I know this is going to sound hypocritical coming from someone with a YouTube channel, but embrace the real world. Embrace real people, real craftsmen. Find the humanity in each other. Because AI doesn't seem to be going anywhere. And if we can't stop it, we have to learn to live with it. And that means stop trusting things blindly. Think critically, check sources, do the research. Do not trust what you see at face value. Don't just scroll. In the kindest way possible, go touch grass. Be outside, be a human, go create something, use your hands, your voice, use your brain. Some people might become masters, sure, but don't let the thought of not reaching that stop you from ever trying in the first place. Now more than ever, I think we need to learn how to do things on our own and for ourselves. Fun fact, you don't have to post everything online. I know, again, crazy, coming from me, a YouTuber, but I do so much more than I post. I do projects just for me, I experiment with makeup just for fun, and some of those looks are not great, but I'm trying. I almost always have ongoing crochet projects or like holiday decor DIYs that I do just because they bring me joy. My channel is in a weird place on YouTube because in a lot of ways I actively ignore all of the analytics that they give me. I make content because I enjoy it. It gives me an excuse to push my limits, to try new things. But I am so hyper aware that the second I start only making what the algorithm tells me it wants, that I'm gonna lose that joy. And it's gonna stop being fun. Because I wouldn't post crochet, I wouldn't post special effects makeups, I really wouldn't post paintings or anything jewelry related. This would be a cosplay channel. And I love cosplay, but that's not the only thing I like doing. But none of those other things do really well in the algorithm. But you know what? I don't really care. I have grown my small little subscriber base by being myself and true to me, regardless of what the algorithm thinks. So that's what I'm gonna keep doing. Is it gonna get me anywhere? Maybe not. But again, I don't know if that's really the point. The brain is kind of like a muscle. If you don't exercise the knowledge, you're gonna lose it. I, for one, like having a rich library full of information, and I'm always starving to add more. So please, listen to music made by real musicians, read books written by real human authors, and enjoy art made by real people. Don't be afraid to create something new. And for the love of everything, do not outsource your thinking to a chatbot. I may take on more commissions in the future, I may not. But I learned something from the creation process, something that I can apply to future projects. I'm slowly getting better, and I'm slowly moving forwards. It's not easy, but it's real, and it's human. So I hope you stick around and check out the other videos I post. I'm just a real person being a weirdo on the internet and sharing my artsy chaos. I don't know if it proves or means anything. I know my videos are just a drop in the sea of ever-growing content on this platform, swirled amongst the ever-growing AI-generated slop that is constantly being uploaded. But I hope you can walk away with something. Maybe a new idea, an inspiration, a skill, or even a smile. Whatever it is, I sincerely hope that I will see you in the next one.